No, actually, that's one of the improvements. When I first started, we actually had a desktop application. So the customer data was on our computers, our laptops, and we were concerned with passwords. Everything we do now is online. So at the end of the day, when we shut down, we have no customer data. We don't hold on to any customer paperwork. One of the things that we used to have to do, and the IRS still officially says to do it, but AARP says we're not doing that, is, as an example, if you come in with a power of attorney for someone, we're allegedly supposed to get a copy of that power of attorney, and there's a place we're supposed to mail it. If you come in with 10 pages of stock transactions, and we're just entering the bottom line, the summary, we're supposed to copy those and allegedly mail those to this certain address. And basically, it's become clear over the last 3 years, now an official directive of AARP, we don't take any of that, we don't make any copies, we don't mail anything. Number one, even the guy from the IRS I work with said, are you kidding me? If somebody has a question about some stock trades on your account, do you think they're going to try to go to some address out in the Midwest where allegedly this stuff was mailed and dig that out of a file cabinet? Or do you think they're going to come back to you and just ask for copies? They're going to come back to you and ask for copies. So, yeah, in terms of security, we don't hold on to anything. We don't have anything. Also, I'd say for most of us, even with people I know, we do so many returns that if you were to ask me the next day what somebody's adjusted gross was, I'd have no idea. All the numbers blend together. Some people, if they get way overly concerned, might not like because, let's face it, right, we're using volunteer areas wherever we can set up. And so there are cases where we may have tables like this end to end, and I'm doing a set of taxes here and somebody else is working on taxes there. I haven't seen anybody coming in with cameras and trying to write down Social Security numbers, and so I'd say it's not over the top. We don't work in cubicles, but we also haven't seen any issues. And certainly, if I saw somebody trying to be overly inquisitive, we'd probably react to that. Anything else? Well, and by the way, if you do have questions, certainly, Charlie, you know how to get a hold of me. Certainly Steve does and others. I may not be able to answer the question, but feel free to ask. If I can't answer it, I can usually at least steer you to someone who would be able to.
And you don't have to be a member of AARP.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. This is not you don't have to be a member of AARP. We do them, I don't know what the youngest is, but certainly down to 18 years old. Actually, we sort of like that when somebody that's 21, 22, they come in, all they have is a W-2. Ha ha. Yeah, I'm taking that one. And to your point, Charlie, you said yours are fairly straightforward. Most of our returns are a little bit of interest or dividends, 1 or 2 1099-Rs from an account, Social Security. That's it. That's what most of them are. Those are the people we're really there to serve.
Thank you.
Yep.
And commercially, as Lyle mentioned, excuse me, there's TurboTax from the Intuit people. They have online versions, and then they also have download or CD versions. One of the things that I often see tricky with the online versions is it's only good for one return. So if you do all the returns in your family for your kids or your spouses, then you may end up paying per return, and so you have to be careful about that when you're doing the online versions.
And the deluxe version, that's actually one I use, and that handles 1099-Rs and that kind of thing. It wouldn't if you had something where you had depreciation and stuff. Actually, that handled that for my business as well, allowed me to input it. But that one I think was, yeah, I was just going to say, that's good for 5 returns that it will do. Back 4 or 5 years ago, they tried a bait and switch. They defeatured deluxe. So if you'd always been using it, all of a sudden you went to use it and it couldn't do your return anymore, and it said, well, you can upgrade to this. And they had so many complaints. When I called in and complained, they actually gave me the upgrade and gave me my money back.
Nice.
So mortgage interest is still there, still fully deductible up to some insane amount. I think it's, I don't know, somewhere north of $1 million mortgage that they start limiting how much you can deduct. But Rick, I haven't had to deal with it, but basically, I mean, you can gift to. You can provide a gift of at least $10,000. I think they actually raised it a little bit this year, and the recipient has no tax liability.
Because the gifter pays the tax liability.
Yes, the gifter pays the tax liability. I believe you can give it to anyone.
There is a lifetime, so they raised it to $14,000, but there's a lifetime gift exemption of $5.49 million.
Oh yeah, I should have mentioned that. That's going to apply to everybody here.
And then the other major well-known tax program is Tax Cut, which is from H&R Block. And they have similar sort of things where they do online and they do downloads. I did find an interesting article on PC Mag about the best tax programs. And they all sort of rate fairly close. They're all in the 3 to 4 stars. Credit Karma I found interesting because they give you the free credit reports and free credit monitoring, which is kind of neat. But as we start going down here, they get lower and lower. And then surprisingly, the Jackson Hewitt, one of the big tax services, it's only 2.5 stars. So they tend to not get liked.
It is disappointing how many people we've had come in that were either at H&R Block or even Jackson Hewitt the year before, and we find mistakes in their previous returns. A. B, that they have that simple return that I just mentioned to Rick with very little in it, and they're paying $125 to $150 to have that return prepared. And then number 3, since he mentioned Jackson Hewitt, we had a gentleman that started volunteering with us last year. Jackson Hewitt came back on him and said, cease and desist. You had signed a 2-year non-compete clause. You're not allowed to do taxes. And he's volunteering for the elderly disadvantaged, and Jackson Hewitt is coming after him. Now, they didn't actually take him to court. They just said cease and desist. But that didn't win them any kudos in my book. Oh. Well, we did see the stuff that came through where they were setting up this Cuomo charity. I think it got set up, but I don't have any of the details around it.
So as Lyle mentioned earlier, he's a volunteer. He's not a lawyer. He's not a CPA.
Exactly.
So if you do have something weird, you may need to consult a tax professional.
Yeah, and we do, basically one of the things we tell all the volunteers is if they are uncomfortable, we don't have to do the return. Now that doesn't mean that I don't like the color of your skin or your accent. It truly means if we've had people come in and after 20 minutes, we say, you know what, I just don't trust the answers they're giving. Generally speaking, you give us a number, we put it in. It's your tax return. But if we start to feel that you're being dishonest, then we cut it off. We're not going to do it. Likewise, if we get uncomfortable with either behavior or, as I mentioned earlier, the complexity of the return, I've had discussions with people where I've said, you know, you've got it. We'll do it this year, but please be considerate of others. Really go somewhere else. You can afford it. You've got a complexity here that's eating up a lot of time. We'd really prefer to eat other. And people respond well to that. I really haven't had pushback.
All right. Thank you very much, Lyle.
Yep.
And just wanted to mention again that the Saturday SIGs are both going to be held at 3 p.m. At our house, or my house in, or I guess our house. No, my name's on the mortgage. No. Yep. Well, actually, yeah, that, married filing jointly, married filing separately. And so that's in Fairport on Route 250 between 31 and 31F. We're actually just north of Aralt, near the top of the hill, if you're familiar with 250. And then next Wednesday is our board meeting at 7:30 at the United Church of Christ on Titus near Hudson, across from the House of Guitars, if you know the area. You're welcome to come by. Next month is our elections for officers and the board of directors. If you're interested in running, see Rick. Were you who's the off board? So Charlie is the board member in charge of the nominating committee. And if you're interested in volunteering for the club, you're more than welcome to join a directorship before you become an officer. A lot of people like the directors because there's you just listen and vote. You don't have to do anything. That's a good point. We're supposed to present a slate today. Anyone? Shirley, do you have the slate of nominees? Was that something you mailed out earlier? I must not have saved that locally. No, I thought I did. Alrighty, thank you all for coming. Also, don't forget, if you have questions between weeks or between months, Sound Bites, Saturdays from 12 to 2 on Jazz 90.1 FM. Member supported, Jazz 92.1 FM. Call in, question and answer, talk about the news. We had some excitement last week. Nick hurt his foot and couldn't make it to the show. So I figured out how to get Skype on my computer to feed it into YouTube and feed it into the audio board, and Nick was able to participate from home. So we had a lot of fun with that. All right, thanks all for coming. Accept file from Carol. Thank you, Carol. Just so we can say we presented it. There we are. There's the ballot. It's been presented to the members attending the meeting. We have satisfied the requirements of the bylaws. I got to put it on the website next too, right? Or it's got to go in the email next month. Not the website. All right. Sure, yep. I don't have the Apple Pay one. I don't have Apple Pay. They do have an Apple Pay solution at Square. We do have the Intuit, we use the Intuit reader at work, and we just got the Apple Pay version. Sorry, not straight. Slap it straight. All right, you sign there with your finger. Yeah. He's giving me the finger. Yes. That's okay, I'm fine. Done signing. Approved. Card. Would you like a receipt? Can you email it? Email? Yep. That's your email address? Good.